Battle of Mirbat, the Alamo of the SAS, July 19, 1972, the Dhofar Rebellion. On July 19, 1972, an extraordinary battle took place near the small town of Mirbat in South Oman. A group of 9 SAS soldiers were fighting off waves of attack by over 250 insurgents in a battle that lasted for 7 hours. 2 SAS soldiers were killed in the action, but the enemy were repelled and had to withdraw. Exceptional gallantry was shown by the small force, and the battle deserved to be known as the Alamo of the SAS. The Sultanate of Oman, or the Sultanate of Muscat and Oman as it was called before 1970, was in a state of civil war before the British SAS even came to the country. From 1963, the royal government was in conflict with the Marxist Dhofar Liberation Front, whose goal was to create an independent republic in Oman's southernmost province of Dhofar. By the late 1960s, the insurgents, supported by the communist government of Yemen, had established control over most of the province. In 1970, in order to regain full control over the country, the newly established Omani government sought help from the British, who had their own political and commercial interests in the region, namely control of the oil fields. As a result of this, the British government sent troops of Special Air Service teams to Oman to help in training the Sultan of Oman's armed forces. Their activities, codenamed Operation Storm, included, among other things, intelligence support and helping to recruit and train the local Dhofaris to fight for the Sultan. This video is sponsored by World of Warships. World of Warships is a free-to-play online multiplayer PC game. Take part in the history of naval warfare as you face off against opponents across the 7 seas. Whether you want to conquer the oceans aboard battleships, be part of a larger fleet on a destroyer or an aircraft carrier, or even attack from below in your very own submarine, you can do it all in World of Warships, and with real historical ships that have been painstakingly recreated from their original designs. Like the SAS soldiers at the Battle of Mirbat, you can fight alone or in a division with your friends, and take on the enemy in a 12 vs 12 co-op mode on maps with top-of-the-line water effects and textures that make you feel like you're really sailing. And you can enjoy newly released content every month, including warships, in-game nations, cosmetics, and ship classes including cruisers, and take on opponents with the ship's heavy artillery machinery that rivals the field guns Sergeant Laba used. In World of Warships, you can guarantee that whether you're fighting in rain or shine, there's always something new to experience. Visit the virtual dockyard where you can see recreations of not just the biggest and best warships from World War I and II, but also ship designs that never made it to being built in reality. Oh, and did I mention the game is also available on consoles? If you love the smell of salt and the sting of battle, sign up to World of Warships through our link today to get a huge starter pack that will help you launch your seafaring adventure as captain of your very own warship. When you sign up, use the code FIRE and get 200 doubloons, 20 rounds of Restless Fire camouflage, 1 million credits, 7 days of premium account access, and exclusive free access to the premium U.S. battleship of World War I, the USS Texas. Play today for free and truly experience what it means to take part in a real naval battle with World of Warships. The SAS soldiers were organized into British Army training teams, known as BATs, which were located across the disputed region. One of the BAT stations was on the outskirts of the small coastal town of Mirbat. On July 19, 1972, the fighters of the Popular Front for the Liberation of the Occupied Arabian Gulf, the successors of the Dhofar Liberation Front, attacked the town. Their men were popularly known as the Adu, which in Arabic means the enemy. The town of Mirbat was protected by a barbed wire perimeter, which was guarded by a handful of local Dhofar gendarmerie, who were part of a paramilitary force that was formed to assist the Omani Regular Army, and also a group of 9 SAS soldiers from B Squadron. The rest of the gendarmerie were housed in a small fort close to the barbed wire, while the SAS were in a smaller fortified house. South of their position was another small fort, housing about 30 members of the local Firqa militia. However, all but one of this unit was out on a patrol at the time of the attack. The gendarmerie were mostly inexperienced and still undergoing basic training, and were only armed with old .303 bolt-action rifles, so that the SAS unit was the only capable, battle-hardened group in the area. 4 companies of Adu fighters approached the outskirts of Mirbat early on July 19th. Their first contact was with the picket of the Dhofar Gendarmerie, who were camped by the desert slopes known as the Jebel Ali. Then, at 0515, a small Adu unit crept up to the guards and slit their throats while they were asleep, without alerting the rest of the defenders outside the town. An attack from the Adu Support Weapons Company followed. Mortar shells began to fall around the defense perimeter. Inside the Bat House, the SAS soldiers were taking a rest, but the explosions woke them up, and they initially thought that it was just the Adu testing their state of alertness. However, as the sound of exploding shells started getting closer, the SAS men jumped out of their beds, grabbed their L1A1 SLR rifles, and ran to their positions. Some of them climbed up onto the house's roof through a trap door and took cover behind a sandbag parapet. They mounted the Browning M2 50 caliber machine gun and prepared it for sustained fire. Another 2 soldiers ran behind the house to man the 81mm L16 mortar, ready to respond to the enemy barrage. Staff Sergeant Talayasi Labalaba from Fiji, simply known as Laba, left the house and ran toward the gendarmerie fort, where there was a gun pit with a World War II-era 25-pounder artillery gun. Still wearing his sandals, the troop commander, Captain Mike Keeley, climbed onto the roof to determine what was going on. The dawn was yet to come, but in the distance he noticed the enemy mortar platoon sending shells towards them, as well as flashes from the enemy soldiers' PPSH-41 submachine guns. It was obvious that the Adu were beginning an attack on his position, so he ordered his men to prepare to return fire. When he was 100% certain that the gendarmerie from the picket line were not returning to be caught in the crossfire, he radioed a message to the HQ at al-Kharif requesting air support. He was unaware that the gendarmerie were all dead. As the Adu fighters were approaching the barbed wire, the SAS opened fire with everything they had, including the 25-pounder. Over in the gun pit, Sergeant Laba was operating the gun on his own, a task normally requiring a 4 to 6-man crew. Laba quickly attracted the attention of the Adu, who concentrated their fire on the gun pit. With rounds flying all around him, Laba managed to fire a round per minute onto the incoming enemy. It was only when he got hit in the chin that he called for help. Another Fijian, Trooper Sekonaya Takavesi, ran under a hail of bullets and jumped into the gun pit. He and Laba leveled the gun and without aiming continued to fire it from point-blank range against the Adu fighters, who had by now broken through the barbed wire. The paramilitaries inside the gendarmerie fort joined in to help and returned fire with their 303 rifles from the fort windows. As the enemy approached the gun pit, Laba jumped out to grab the 60mm mortar, but was killed instantly when he got hit in the neck. Takavesi too was shot but continued to fight with his self-loading rifle. Captain Keeley saw it all and immediately radioed his HQ again, this time to call for air support and a medevac for Laba. Then, along with the troop medic Thomas Tobin, he ran towards Taka to help him defend the gun emplacement. As Keeley and Taka continued to fight off the Adu fighters, of which some were only a few yards away, Tobin crawled towards Laba to check his condition. Unfortunately, as soon as he saw there was nothing that he could do for his comrade, he too got hit in the face. Even though Captain Keeley and his men fought bravely, it was just a matter of time before the Adu fighters would overrun their position. Luckily, they were saved by the incoming BAC Strikemaster jets of the Sultan of Oman's Air Force, who repelled the Adu fighters with their machine guns and missiles. Further south, 3 Huey helicopters landed 21 SAS soldiers from G Squadron, armed with self-loading rifles, general-purpose machine guns, and M79 grenade launchers. They headed towards their comrades, suppressing the Adu fighters along the way. At the same time, the Firka militia returned from their patrol and hit the Adu from the rear. Around 12:30, they finally withdrew, and the battle was over. Only then did the helicopter land to evacuate the injured SAS soldiers. Staff Sergeant Laba was already dead, and Medic Tobin later died of his wounds. Taka was severely wounded but managed to walk to the helicopter. Another SAS soldier was slightly injured. On the other side, the SAS counted 38 dead Adu soldiers, but the actual number killed was over 80 men. The defeat at Mirbat was devastating for the Adu units, and they never again attempted to seize the town. 9 brave SAS soldiers and their allies had held their positions for almost 7 hours against a force of over 250 insurgents. It was a truly remarkable success, but one that couldn't be publicly recognized. The British government wanted to keep its engagement in Oman as secret as possible, so the SAS men from Mirbat had to wait for 3 years to get their earned rewards. Captain Mike Keeley was awarded the Distinguished Service Order. Trooper Sekonaya Takavesi got the Distinguished Conduct Medal, and 2 other SAS soldiers received the Military Medal. And Staff Sergeant Talaasi Labalaba was also posthumously mentioned in dispatches. Many of the SAS believe that for the bravery shown in handling the 25-pounder all alone, Laba earned nothing less than the Victoria Cross. However, it was his and the gallantry of the rest of his unit that made the Battle of Mirbat one of the most heroic performances in the history of the Special Air Service. In October 2018, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan, unveiled a statue of Laba Laba in Nadi on the island of Fiji while on their Australian tour.